Hello again, everybody. This is Bobby Mills, the 1,000-Yard Guy, and we're in another edition of the Bobby Mills Independent Sports Talk for the Independent.com. Jim Langan with me, Eric Williams as usual, behind the camera, Zach Mayhew, and in the shadows, our director, Tino Martinez. We're going to talk about a little college football today, or maybe a lot. Boys, what about that Husker game? How about that win Saturday over that powerhouse Illinois? I'm just kidding. It was a good win. Any comments, any thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Illinois was really good up front. They get
sure
really
were.
hard. Nebraska's got to heal up. That's going to be one thing that needs to happen. Westerkamp could be out 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh,
It could be longer than that. I think, the one thing about the Nebraska game is a lot of times it's really easy to think, well, we started slow and we had it under control and we won easy going away. But what really happened in that game was our defense held Illinois to some field goals. It was, of course, 13-10. We held them to a field goal to make it 16-10. Nebraska got a drive, and if they don't score, it could be a very close football game. And we got a huge break on a horse collar tackle on 3rd down. Tommy was in deep trouble, and actually was going to lose about 7 or 8 yards. Got a horse collar tackle that resulted in a 1st down. And then we got 2 50-50 spots that were very close. One on 4th down.
Yeah, pass interference. Too.
Yes, so we got 18-play drive. It took a lot of time off the clock, but we came out of that with the 17-16 lead. And if we don't hold them to a field goal, we're down 20-17. And so there's a lot of things about that game that were made it a lot closer than it appered. Because at the end of it, we're winning by 16. But what about the 4th quarter? That's what I want you guys to talk about. Nebraska's 4th quarter, we're leading the nation in 4th quarter.
Unbelievable.
You go back to the 90s when the Huskers were dominant of how many 4th quarter points they scored back then. They just wear you down up front. And I think, like you said, that's a heck of a defensive front that Lovie Smith's got. And by the way, he can still coach. A lot of people discredited him when he left the Bears and couldn't get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back. But Lovie can still coach. He's got a great defensive front. Secondary lets him down a little bit, but for the most part, they played well. But it's just wearing them down, and that's where the Huskers all season long has just wore down their defensive opponents, and have been able to open it up in that 4th quarter.
How good is it to see that? And the offensive drive, that has to be that's one of the longest drives in the past, I don't know how many years, 10 minutes and some seconds? Good grief.
And again, like I say, I'm the Husker fan. I wanted Nebraska to win. But that drive was helped out by penalties.
It was.
That drive, that wasn't a typical 1990 drive where they line up and they just wear you down. That drive was helped out with 18-play drive. And we did some things really well on that drive. One thing about it, when you have an 18-play drive, we didn't have any penalties.
No.
They did, and not only that, we didn't fumble the ball, we didn't throw an interception. So it wasn't like we did anything wrong during the drive, but we benefited from them. Sometimes in sports, you don't beat somebody, they beat themselves. And I don't think Illinois really beat themselves, but I think maybe they lost the game on that drive. When they were up 16-10, that was the time where they needed to get a 3-and-out or at least finish it. They had that opportunity, and the guy reaches up and grabs a horse collar tackle. I don't care if you're in college, pro, or high school. That's a bad play when you got a quarterback in trouble. Oh. You don't have to reach out there. You just shove him out of bounds. Let him have an extra 3 yards. make it 4th down and 12 instead of 4th and 15. And I thought that was a very important play in the game. Your thoughts?
And I was going to say another thing on that drive is what the Huskers did with the trust that they had in Newby. I know Exigbo went out, but to give him the ball in several situations, key situations on that drive, while down 16-10, I thought was pretty big too, because it's easy to say we're going to throw the football or just have Tommy Armstrong run, and Newby, you're just out there for blocking in a position spot after the 3 fumbles that he's had over the last couple of weeks.
And I wonder what the Nebraska fan would have thought if it had been the other way around on the spot on the 3-yard line. Let's say Nebraska's
really
up 16-10.
anyway.
You know what I mean? That was a controversial spot.
Yeah.
And let's say that goes the other way. Do you think are the 90,000 fans going to cheer and be happy, or they're going to go, whoa, So that was and in fact, Lovie Smith was going to call timeout to have them take a look at it, but they actually got buzzed down before.
Yeah.
And we went down and looked at it. And they did not say it was confirmed, guys.
I still don't think it was. I thought where they spotted the ball, I could see his helmet at that spot.
Yeah.
The ball was still back there a little bit further. So.
But what a big break. That was
Big
a
break.
huge 50-50 break. Yeah.
And we'll take every one we can get.
Yeah, let's keep them going. Let's see what I mean. And when you look at Nebraska's national championship years, when they every once in a while caught a break. They beat Kansas one time, 21-20. Kansas went for 2 and didn't make it.
Yeah.
And then no one will forget about that pass. I think Scott Frost threw in the end zone at Missouri.
To take it to overtime.
Yeah. Right.
Good teams and great teams, there's always breaks involved. We'll take every one we can get.
Tennessee's kind of doing some of that stuff right now. Yeah.
Boy, the Kings this year. What about that number 12 rating? I heard Matt talking about the game before with Gary Sharp, and we could be number 12 under that. Oh, come on, Matt. We're number 12. Knocking on the door, maybe, of the top 10. Who's ahead of us? Miami of Florida? I don't know.
No. I mean, the teams that are up there in that top 10, they deserve to be up there. The Louisville, Clemson, Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, I think is up there. So those teams are deserving of up there. But I think we are right now, record-wise, we're one of the better of the second-tier teams. I mean, I would put it that way. I don't know if that's the way you.
I think I think that's a great comment. It's exactly it's to me that is a fact. That it's not like just something you need to talk about or hey, this is my opinion. I think this is a fact, and I think Michigan might be in a next tier behind this other group. Ohio State is so good on offense. Louisville is so good on offense. Clemson. Now the Louisville-Clemson game, hey, I'll tell you what, I can't rank Nebraska ahead of those two.
Oh, Lord.
And we look at Alabama and what they've done. So those 4 teams in particular, and I believe I'm missing one, and I don't know which one it is right now, but there's one other team in that top 5 that I think's a little bit above the rest of the group. And then you've got the teams like Baylor, you've got some teams like Tennessee, Miami of Florida. You've got a group in there that I think that's somebody that Nebraska maybe can compete with. The point spread wouldn't be too huge. When Nebraska plays at Wisconsin, Wisconsin will be about a 4.5-point favorite. When Nebraska plays at Ohio State, it won't be close to 4.5. It'll be way up there. And so it'll be kind of an interesting deal. Which team did I miss? You guys know which one of the 4 I missed? Because there's one other team that's really playing pretty well right now.
As you're talking, I can't think of who it would be.
Yeah.
I do want to say, though, watching college football this week, you look at the Big Ten versus every other conference. That's the one conference that seems to be able to play defense. I mean, look at how high scoring some of these games are throughout the SEC, the Pac-12, the Big 12, you name it. ACC, there are some big-time scores where there's no defense being played.
Right. I thought of the team, they're not getting as much respect as they should, and that's Houston.
Oh, yes.
I think Houston, the way they beat Oklahoma and the way they've pounded,
tough one.
how good they are on offense. I'm just saying it's the offense that they're showing, and because of that offense that they have to show, they can beat anybody on a given day. And Alabama is probably the best defensive team right now, if not Ohio State.
Yeah.
And Michigan has to rely on their defense, and they could upset one of those top-tier teams. I don't think Nebraska's quite there. Nebraska could beat Michigan.
Yeah, they could.
But I don't think Nebraska could beat a top-tier team, and I think Michigan maybe could beat one of those, and maybe a Wisconsin could beat one of those with their defense.
Yeah.
But Nebraska's defense is getting better.
And when I turned on Big Ten games years ago, when we were in the Big 12, I used to turn them off because of the defense. There's no offense. There's no fun to watch. But if they can't score on you, they can't beat you. So
Right.
there's still very much value to that Big Ten defense. Any big games, you guys? There's not a lot of big games this weekend for some reason. Texas A&M and Tennessee, about the highest.
That's a pretty big game. I'd
That's
say that's
probably
it.
the biggest.
Don't watch the first half because that doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. No. How about Texas, Oklahoma? Is that going to be a game?
Well, it'd be very interesting because Oklahoma has had trouble with Texas when they've been a heavy favorite. You know?
Yeah.
Here's what's going to make it interesting is if Texas loses, it becomes a bidding war for the Houston coach between LSU and Texas. Because I think if Texas does lose that game to Oklahoma, Charlie Strong's out the door, especially if they put up 40 points against them.
Yeah, and there's some other jobs that are going to be interesting. I think the Oregon job is going to maybe be open. And you look at USC maybe turned it around a little bit, but there's some programs right now that are not having the success they thought they'd have. Notre Dame losing to Duke,
Yeah.
you know, and Notre Dame lost to Texas. And now you're finding out how Texas is maybe not really the real deal, you know, and so there's going to be some openings and some et cetera
Yeah,
jobs.
right.
But I think you're right. I think the Houston head coach.
Houston's gonna be open too.
Yeah, right.
Very interesting. Holy Toledo. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We've talked a little college football, brought to you by Cornhusker Toyota Honda. We'll see you next time for the Independent.com. This is Bobby Mills, 1,000 Yard Guy.